Hello all, welcome back to Editorial Analysis and Answer Writing Practice at 9 p.m. Friends, if you are watching this video series for the first time, then please watch my intro video which is given in this playlist to know how to participate in this program. It is open to everyone. So today will be a feedback session. So in today's video, I will give you the feedback session for day 2 and day 3 questions. And tomorrow I will give you feedback session for day 4 and day 5 question. So day 2 question. This is regarding GM crops. Friends, I'm not going to explain any concept in discussion video. I will give you a structure for the answer, then I will evaluate the best answers. If you haven't watched the topic editorial analysis video of GM crops, please watch it and then come back. So yes, discuss the current legal and regulatory framework governing GM crops in India. Do you agree with the view that GM crops are necessary to feed the world? So this topic, so we can start our answer by defining what is GM crops. So many students I observed, they are complicating in explaining what is GM crops, right? These are crops which are specifically modified genetically to introduce special traits. That's all. Give a very simple definition. So start with GM crops definition, then you can explain the current legal and regulatory framework which is governing GM crops in India. You can explain about GEAC, you can explain about the approval given by Ministry of Environment for what crops approval has been given. All those you can mention in this legal and regulatory framework. Right? Then comes the important point. Do you agree with the view that GM crops are necessary to feed the world? Most of the students have written the importance of GM crops for this part. The question is not importance of GM crops. The question is specific to whether GM crops is necessary to feed the world. When you give the subheading, you should ensure that your subheading is related to the topic which was asked. Many students have simply mentioned importance of GM crops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Significance of GM crops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not all the significance has been asked in this question. This question is specific to the necessity of GM crops to feed the world. So every single point should be connected with this particular context. For example, population is increasing. Right? So by 2050, we will be crossing 900 crore population. So we need to ensure food security. So for improving the food security with the given cultivable area, we need genetic modification. Second point, because of global warming, temperature increase, the current crops are not able to adapt. So that can affect the food security. So for improving the adaptation of crops, we need genetic modification to ensure food security, right? So adaptation. Number 3, see, you can talk about the unsustainable farming techniques which we are using. The poor farming techniques which we are using today has affected the soil fertility. That affects the food production. So we need to have crops which can grow even in poor soil, for which we need genetic modification. Right? Similarly, nutrient, to improve the nutritional security, we need genetic modification. So all your points, I go through the answer key. All these points should be connected with the point of whether GM is necessary for feeding the world. Don't mention about general significance. All the significance which you are mentioning here should be connected to that food security aspect. Right? Then from there you can go. So after mentioning all these things, then you can say however, there are issues, right? However, there are issues with respect to GM crops. Right? That you can mention. What are the issues? So you can mention about what are the issues. So followed by do you agree point. Then you mention about the issues because of these reasons. You highlight the issues. Then finally you conclude. See, in the concluding note, you can mention whether you agree or not. In the concluding note also, don't say, yes, I agree. Yes, I don't agree. Don't say like that. Right? You can have your own opinion. But I would say always align your opinion with the government's view. Today, Government of India has given approval only for BT cotton, only for cash crop. For food crop, Government of India has not given approval. So if a question says, do you agree with the view GM is necessary? You have to be slightly diplomatic here. Alright, you can have your own opinion, but I am also giving you a suggestion which you can consider. So you can be diplomatic. Yes, given the circumstances, given the climate change, given the limited cultivable area, it assumes greater significance to go for genetic modification. It appears GM is the only way forward. However, so at that, by explaining that, you are expressing your opinion that yes, given the circumstances, GM crops is the only way forward. But however, at first level, why there is a need for GM crops? At first level, population is something. We'll keep that aside. If our existing crops is able to produce yield more, then no problem. If our existing crops is able to adapt to the change in climate, no problem. If the climate is not changing, no problem. Right? So what we can say is, yes, given the situation, we have no other way forward other than GM crop. But however, if we can spend more money on research and development to improve the high yielding variety crops, so by spending on R&D and also through global coordinated effort, if we are able to take efforts to reverse the climate change, we'll be having a long term sustainable solution. Right? If you are not taking anything, then GM crops is going to be the way ahead. That is what you have mentioned in the pre-conclusion paragraph. So in the pre-conclusion paragraph, you are mentioning that yes, given the circumstances, yes, it appears there is no choice other than GM crops. But however, you give a futuristic solution as well. This is one way of concluding. You can have your own choice. Since the question is about do you agree, you can say yes, you can say no, but substantiate accordingly. Okay, so this is how we can tackle this question. So let's see how students have written. See, kindly mention your name. Kindly mention your name. Okay. So here the student with respect to introduction, it is fine. So with respect to regulations in India for GM crops, yes, that part is also fine. The introduction, the approval part is fine. The genetic engineering appraisal part is fine. Second point is fine. Third point is also fine. Fourth point, illegal activities. See, this fourth point can be avoided. The fourth point can be avoided. Right. Even the first point, this is not 1976, this is 1986. Please do not commit such factual error. If you're not able to recollect, don't mention. Okay. So that you please make a note. See, even here, though the answer is fine, but however, look at the subheading, benefits of GM crops. The question is not about benefits. The question is about whether it is necessary to feed the world. If you are going to give heading as benefits of GM crops, then I will get an impression that you have not addressed the demand of the question. Right? So please change your subheading. So feed the exponentially growing population, great, that is fine, good point. Can be used as a resistant to pest, fertilizer overuse, drought, saline condition. All these are fine, but try to connect it with that food security aspect. Has the potential to deal with malnutrition. Yes, that point is fine. Try to connect with the nutritional security aspect. Right? Then you have directly went for potential dangers of GM crop. See, you have given only 3 points. That is the major aspect of the question. Where you could have expanded further, at least 5-6 points would have given that why GM is necessary to feed the world. There you should have expanded the points. All the 3 points which you have mentioned is valid, but try to connect with food security. And you can expand the number of points. Potential dangers, yes. All these points which you have mentioned is correct. It is fine. There is no problem. I have read it already. Right? And finally, see, in the concluding note you are mentioning, therefore, I do think, don't do that. Don't do that. Your answer should convey your opinion. You need not explicitly mention that, yes, I think GM crops will be necessary. Okay. And in the concluding note, you have mentioned about as Thomas Malthushian put forward. Okay, you have mentioned about as Thomas Malthushian put forward, our population growth continues, etc. Whatever you have said, how this point is connected with GM crops? The question is surrounding GM. I felt that this point is force fit. Okay, second point is fine. Right? So I hope everyone got clarity, but still it is a good attempt. So we will see one more answer. See, please mention your name, but while mentioning the name, let it be clear. I am not able to read this name only. Don't mistake me. I am not able to understand. Okay. So you have given the introduction. That is fine. You have mentioned the legal and regulatory framework. See, in the legal and regulatory framework, what you have mentioned. The first point, so in India, strict regulations are there in place to control threats to animal health, human safety. This point is not required. This point you could have avoided. You could have directly gone to India, any crop that is GM that has to be cleared under 2 levels. That point is fine. But the first point which you have, the introduction which you have given to the legal and regulatory framework, that I feel which is unnecessary. Right? Then you have explained about the approval from the ministry. Then you have explained so far GEAC has given approval for BT cotton. That is fine. So however Ministry of Environment, what they have given, that is also mentioned. That is fine. Then again you went for advantages of GM crops. Same problem. Everyone have done the same problem. The question is not general advantages. It is specific to whether it is necessary to feed the world. Right? The question is GM crops and food security. Okay. So the same advice which I have given for the first answer, same advice follows to you as well. Okay. Your conclusion with the above mentioned will upset genetic technologies. Yes, your conclusion is fine. Your conclusion is fine. Your conclusion is actually good. Okay, when compared to other part of the answer, your conclusion is fine. So let's move on to the next question. The great power rivalry is once again using land-based trade routes as new geopolitical instruments. In this context, explain the IMEC. Beyond countering the Belt and Road Initiative, discuss how can IMEC contribute to India's broad strategic objective. See, whenever such statement is given in the question, okay, that is the context, that is the premise, that is what you have to explain in the introduction. Many students have directly jumped into IMEC. See, explain this statement, the great power rivalry. You take China as the example, like how China used trade routes in a way to control the geopolitics once through ancient Silk Route, how they were having the dominance. Today, with the Belt and Road Initiative, how they are trying to control the geopolitics. Now, the West, through IMEC, how they are trying to counter the China through same trade route based geopolitics. That is what you have to explain in the introduction part. Then you could have gone for explaining IMEC. You explain about IMEC, that is fine. And you have to explain how IMEC and BRI, how it is different or how it is same or how it is different, that aspect you have to explain. Then you are going to explain IMEC and India. So how India can achieve its objectives through IMEC, right? So objective of India, how it can be addressed through this IMEC. That is what we are going to explain. So give an intro. The intro part should explain the first 2 lines. Then go for IMEC, then IMEC versus BRI, then IMEC and India, and conclusion. I will give you a suggestion. See here, IMEC and India, you are going to give positive points. Largely you are going to give positive points because IMEC is going to be beneficial for India. So in the conclusion part, you can highlight the challenges. Since you are giving more positives about IMEC and India, in the conclusion part, you can highlight the challenges in implementing this project. There are many economic corridors project which have been proposed but which are incomplete. For many years, we are not able to complete it. So how IMEC is going to be challenging? So only when it is implemented effectively, only then we can realize the potential. So for effective realization of potential, effective implementation becomes very crucial. So like that you can conclude. So you are giving a lot of positives, then you are giving some challenging note in the conclusion. Alright, this is one way of giving conclusion. Right. So many students have not written this question well. You have written something, you have written only one student have addressed the topic to some extent. Gokul P, you have done it decently. Yes, India, Middle East. See here, what is the problem? Was first proposed by India. Is it so? Your very first introductory line, you are committing a mistake, right? IMEC span over 7,000, all those points are fine, but you are mentioning first proposed by India. That you could have avoided. Say that in the G20 summit in India, the first in the G20 summit in India 2023, the MOU was signed between so many countries for ensuring this program. Significance of IMEC over BRI. I felt that this could have been your intro, where you are highlighting that China is once again using the land-based routes as new geopolitical instruments called as BRI. This could have been your wonderful intro. Your second point also could be a part of your intro. So to redevelop ancient Silk Road, China invests more on physical. So that first point and second point could be part of your intro. Then you would have explained about what is this IMEC. Then here you are explaining how IMEC is different from BRI. From here you are explaining. So you could have given a separate subheading to mention how IMEC and BRI is different or how BRI is significant. That you could have mentioned. Then you have went through how IMEC can contribute to India's strategic objectives, where you have mentioned only few points. You have mentioned about trade enhancement. You have explained about tourism potential. You have explained about technology collaboration, cordial relation between the countries. Talk about energy security, talk about economic integration, talk about improved trade, talk about reduced logistical cost. Right, so there are many advantages. Talk about decarbonization goals. India wants to achieve net zero emission by 2070. This is speaking about decarbonization. Think about, we are looking for renewable source of energy, clean source of energy. This program is also focusing on developing a green hydrogen pipe. There are many points which you could have given here. You have given only 4 points that could have been improved, and your conclusion is not so great. You can improve on your conclusion. But still, of all the answers, this is the better answer which I have found. Right? Many students, while uploading the answers, while giving the drive link, please give access to me. You are not giving that access to me. Right? Ensure that access is open for all, so that I click the link, I'm able to download the answer. Okay. And also, please adhere to word limit. See, you are watching my video in the same flow you are writing. Whatever points I explained in that video, in the same flow you are writing. That is not the way you should write. Understand the demand of the question and structure your answer properly. Adhere to word limit. Put proper subheadings. Okay. So, yes, I hope this initiative is useful. I hope it adds value to your preparation. Take all my comments and improve it every single day. Make it as a habit. Writing answers, make it as a habit. And inform your friends as well. Make everyone to participate. More the participation, then more competitive the environment will be. So I will see you tomorrow with the discussion, that is the answer discussion for the day number 4 as well as 5. Till then, bye. Take care.